about what you can get done. So shifting gears a little bit, I'm very excited about this next panel. You heard my opener, how we have a high bar of excellence that we expect and have a mission around elevating the region in the process. And I hope that you've seen and would agree that today's sessions so far have maintained that high bar of excellence. The folks up next are folks engaged in the New Jersey market who will share reasons why they think New Jersey might just win the AI competition. So please help me welcome to the stage Francis Simowitz, Liat, who runs the NJEDA Hub, Tim Sullivan from the NJEDA, and Quay from the small New Jersey company called CoreWeave. You guys take a seat. Francis is, please have a seat. Oh, sure. Francis is the CEO of Quay Acceleration. He's going to be leading this discussion. They, as you heard from John earlier, help accelerate founders around the world, 25 different countries. We're working on bringing some here. So Francis, thanks for leading this discussion.
Thank you so much, Aaron. And thank you to our lovely panelists. So with us today, we have Corey Sanders, who's the Senior Vice President of CoreWeave, formerly at Microsoft, and he's now leading CoreWeave's strategy to power the next generation of AI infrastructure. We also have Tim Sullivan, who is the CEO of the NJEDA, who's driving the innovation economy in New Jersey, overseeing a lot of the major investments, small business relief, and statewide sector growth. And last but not least, we also have Liat Krawczyk, who's the Executive Director of the New Jersey AI Hub, which is leading collaborations between Princeton, Rutgers, NJIT, as well as the state of New Jersey to make New Jersey an AI leader. So to kick it off, talking about the possibility of New Jersey being the leader in AI and the strategy to build the infrastructure and the ability to support all of the AI innovations that we're talking about today. So I would love to pass the first question to all of you and maybe talk a little bit more about your work as I do so. But what are some of the biggest opportunities and challenges that you see New Jersey facing in becoming an AI-driven economy? I'll pass it maybe first to Corey, and we'll go down the line.
Yeah, great. So first of all, thank you for having us. This is great to be here, and I'm excited to be on stage with my fellow colleagues here. I think when we look at the opportunities and one of the big reasons why CoreWeave got involved as part of the New Jersey AI Hub, and we are a director as part of that, one of the co-founders. The opportunity for innovation really starts with the right ability to share, build, and grow ideas. What I think we've created with the New Jersey AI Hub, which Liat will spend a lot of time talking about, and what I think builds upon what CoreWeave has already built out working in the state, is this collaboration opportunity. Expertise built on expertise, and so with great ideas, and then the ability to partner, whether it be at a educational level or be at a technology level, that collaboration will allow those ideas to grow. And what I love about the state, and I grew up here and now work here, what I love about the state is the amount of really intelligent and cutting-edge individuals, whether they're across the massive amount of university and colleges that we have in the state, or across a bunch of the technology and then non-technology industries in the state, pharmaceuticals, energy, and so on. So I think that opportunity to bring these industries together with the universities and support it is one of the great opportunities. And I think the challenge is going to be really bringing that together. So some of those industries are historically a little bit slow maybe to get going when it comes to technology and technology innovation. So I think the opportunity to support, to take great ideas in some of those local industries and to be able to grow them and support that idea generation will be huge.
Great, thank you. Tim, would love to hear challenges, opportunities for the state.
Great, appreciate the chance to be here with everybody. Great to be with friends and colleagues on this panel. And Francis, great to meet you.
Great to meet you.
New friend.
New friend.
Great to meet you as well. I think from an opportunity perspective, I think this is one of the, AI means different things to different people. AI means different things in different contexts. But I think it's one of those things that this is not optional for a state like New Jersey to give a crap about. I was going to use a different word. I'm in my emeritus phase of life, so I might start cussing more. But not that I don't cuss a lot already. I think AI is not something you can choose to care about if you're going to be in an innovation economy. It's not like you can, pass on this one and wait for the next big thing to come around. I think this is existential. I think this is one of the rare instances where the hype is, probably a little overhyped. It's getting a little crazy out there. But the reality of this is going to change the world and how we do everything, I think, is pretty right. And so I think New Jersey has to be well positioned for it. It's sort of not a choice, or it's not optional to choose to care about this. And I think the opportunity set really and Corey covered a lot of this, I'm sure Liat will as well. I mean, I think we're really well positioned to be one of the leaders, if not the leaders. And I think fundamentally it's about talent and kind of a heritage of innovation and the sort of the less tangible grit, hustle, entrepreneurial spirit that New Jersey has, and certainly reignited under Governor Murphy's leadership. You think about talent, you think about heritage. The last time I was in this room was when we were celebrating, where's Thierry and the gang? I thought I saw them earlier, but Bell Labs' 100th anniversary was being celebrated in this room. And I think there were 5 or 6, so I was here with the governor, I'm sure a number of other folks from the EDA team were here, Kathleen Coviello and Ram and others were here, and there were 6 or 7 Nobel laureates and 3 or 4 Turing Prize winners. And it's easy to feel, I often feel like the dumbest person in the room. In that particular room, it was for sure. It was also a reminder I should have studied harder and paid better attention in math class. But like, we have that heritage, right? Places like Bell Labs, which is going to be remade anew in New Brunswick, gives us that kind of heritage. But then again, you have, and as Corey mentioned, the higher ed engagement, and no better example of that than Princeton and the AI Hub. And I won't steal your thunder, Liat, but the notion of an institution of Princeton's caliber, resources, reputation, heritage, engaging in the real economy this way, with CoreWeave, with Microsoft. Which Corey, you're like the three-legged stool that connects all these things between. You're a Princeton alum too, aren't you? Yeah, the Princeton alum, CoreWeave Chief Strategy Officer, Microsoft alum as well. So we call this the Corey Center. But bringing all those things together, I think gives us a puncher's chance at a real leadership position.
Fantastic. And Liat, building the New Jersey AI Hub, what do you see as some of the opportunities and challenges that New Jersey has?
Great. So, I mean, building on everything you all have said, I think New Jersey has, first of all, the right raw materials for this moment, right? So if you look at talent, it's one of the most highly educated states in the country. We're talking about, across the board, whether that's K-12 or higher ed. We also have some of the, top R1 universities, right? So we have the research and development talent here as well. And in terms of industry, the types of industries that are strongest in New Jersey also happen to correlate with the industries that, at the point, they're ripe for innovation in AI. And if we get that right, like, that is the kind of innovation that serves humanity, right? And that's, whether that's the future of health or smart infrastructure manufacturing, like, those industries are concentrated here, and the AI talent to counter that is also concentrated here. So that's a real opportunity to say, if AI is going to take off and with the kind of breakthroughs we want to see, like, this is the place to do it, right? And so, that's great. And I think the state in particular has been, a super impressive leader, voted top 3 kind of thought leaders in terms of states, that the way that they've implemented, their own workforce training, the type of investments that they're making in the economy, the 12 strategic innovation centers that they've brought to fruition are all things that we're not seeing from other states. And so our role at the New Jersey AI Hub is also very unique. So the New Jersey AI Hub is founded by CoreWeave, the state of New Jersey, Microsoft, and Princeton University. And really, our mission is to think about, how do we take all of these raw materials and bring them together in the right way to make sure that AI does take off and have those beneficial effects, in terms of who can participate in it and what are the outcomes of AI. And so, to me, that's the real opportunity, is that we have an entity that is tasked with proactively thinking about what are the investments we do want to make in the economy. I think a lot of times it's, what do we not want? Our job is to say, what do we want? And what are the proactive investments that we need to be making across the board in innovation, on workforce, in terms of the glue between them, in terms of the infrastructure, and how do we bring this all together to make it come to fruition?
Amazing. I'm going to stay with you for a moment, Liat. Can you tell us a little bit more about the plans and progress within the NJEDA Hub? What are some of the investments that are being made, and how can the community leverage that once it's up and running?
Great, yeah, so we are planning a lot of really exciting things. The way we're thinking about it is, how do you meet every company where they are in their life cycle, and every individual where they are in their life cycle, and curate the right support service in front of them to make sure that they have an entry point and advancement avenue in AI, right? So what that means is thinking about what are the pain points across the innovation lifecycle. So for example, in R&D, the pain points include, we need more interinstitutional collaboration. We need more use cases of collective action on data sharing, and how do we create those incentives for collective action. We need to think, of course, about compute and what is the future of compute in the state. On commercialization, we'll be launching an accelerator to really think about how do we support the life cycle of companies, from pre-seed and on, including more mature companies, and bring them to life. And so that both includes translational R&D, but also a lot of the startups that are here in this room. And then how do we scale those companies? In terms of individuals, we're working with K-12 institutions and higher ed institutions to talk about what are your pain points that you're all experiencing individually? How do we bring you together to talk about capacity building for educational institutions to be ready for the future? How are we upskilling talent and reskilling talent fast and with hand-holding? And then how do we translate that to small and medium businesses in particular, which are 99% of our businesses and make up 50% of GDP, and yet are not necessarily reaping the economic benefits of the AI revolution yet.
Fantastic. Tim, you talked a bit about the overarching strategy for the state. How do you see New Jersey becoming a leader in AI, and what are the types of investments or focuses that you have on a statewide level to make that happen, from placemaking to infrastructure?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I think part of this, when we think about sort of how does Jersey win the AI race, and I'm not sure there will be like demarcated winners with gold medals and such, but how do we, we should be, they'll be like the Oscars of AI. It'll be very exciting. It'll be hosted in CoreWeave's headquarters. You'll be the first winner. I think there's two things. There's the general, this AI thing, however you view it, is happening in all 50 states and around the globe. So some of it is just a for lack of a better word, a generic, how does New Jersey just be a great place to do something that's going to happen and have a competitive advantage? And we do that all the time, right? The basics of higher ed, great communities, number one public school system in America, infrastructure that works, all those things, so that when you're saying, why would I do this in Jersey versus Connecticut or Rhode Island or Kansas or California, you have a raison d'etre. But then there's some things that are locational within the AI race that I think are important. And I think back to Princeton last April hosted a convening. That was sort of the first sort of kickoff of Jersey's real focus on AI. And Brad Smith, who at the time was your boss and I'm sure still a friend, gave this great speech and talked about basically how countries around the world were sort of acting as sovereigns, and countries always act as sovereigns. We're using their sovereign capacity to sort of drive competitive advantage on a locational basis. And there were some UK examples. And we thought a lot about that when we were designing a tax credit program to focus specifically on AI, to develop some locational advantage infrastructure, such that if you're going to build a data center, which, by the way, has trade-offs. We can do the whole energy chat if y'all want. It's not a free, there's no free lunch that uses energy. We don't have enough energy. We want compute power. It's going to involve balances and trade-offs. But if we're going to have, when we get data centers, which we want, how do we also ensure that those benefit the New Jersey startup community, the New Jersey higher ed community? And so we built a very purpose-built tool called the Next New Jersey AI Tax Credit, which is a $500 million investment pool of investment capital. $500 million, by the way, in AI land is like someone sneezed. But $500 million, still a lot of money where I come from, and to invest and encourage investment in AI and job creation AI, not just data centers. Yes, data centers, but also job creation, but also partnerships and collaboration in a very purposeful and intentional way between the AI industry, between the adopter side of the world, and between higher ed and the startup community. And so I think those kind of purposeful investments with intentionality around collaboration and a locational advantage matters, because a data center could, in theory, be anywhere, and not, and depending on the use of it, and not really have much. It doesn't need to be near a population center. Some of them do need to be near a population center, which we are, and which makes them harder to build here. It's not easy to find, that kind of open land. It's not easy to find that kind of power to build new things in the most built-out part of the world, or at least the built-out part of the United States. And so, how do we sort of develop those locational advantages where we can, recognize where we can't? We're not going to have, you see investments if someone's going to build like 14 quadrillion acres worth of data centers. That isn't going to happen in New Jersey. We're the densest state in America. We have to pick our spots. But where we can pick our spots, we want to make sure we're leveraging that for a locational advantage and a comparative advantage amongst the other states, particularly the ones that are similarly situated, that are built out, not the lowest cost places in the world. And I think we can compete and win there, because that's where the high-end part of the industry is going to be home, or find its home. That's where the high-end part of the adoption story and the use case story is going to be playing out, whether it's, as Liat said, in pharma, in life sciences, in telecom and tech. That's a home game for Jersey.
Thank you. And then over to Corey. Talking about the data infrastructures, how can New Jersey leverage the growing investment in data infrastructures to attract investment and support more of the AI development?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tim actually hit it pretty well, so I'll just take his answer. No, I think there's a few things to say. From a data center build out, there are workloads, there are scenarios where proximity matters to the workload, right? Whether it be for legality reasons, like sovereign countries, or whether it be for latency reasons, right? You need to be close to that workload to actually be able to get the full benefit of it. To that point, there are actually quite a few of those types of workloads in this part of the country and part of the world, financial services probably being the most, the best example, but certainly there's quite a few. And so with that proximity, there's certainly incremental value and sort of incremental opportunity to innovate in those areas where that proximity exists. But I actually do agree with Tim that sort of the bigger opportunity is the gravity that it creates in all of the other supporting components, right? When I've worked for Microsoft 20 years, and when I moved out to Seattle, there wasn't an Amazon yet, and so it was kind of a big risk because the only company there was Microsoft, and so it was sort of like, gosh, I'm going to move there, but if I ever leave Microsoft, then I guess I'm moving, and so it creates this sort of additional risk and anxiety. And so the opportunity to build gravity around talent is quite meaningful. And so with the investments we're talking about, the ability to invest in funds to enable innovation, but then also having sort of sizable workforces that can come from that type of innovation, including from a company like CoreWeave itself, creates this gravity, creates this sort of freedom to have great talent move and know that even if that first thing doesn't work out, there's going to be a second, third, fourth, fifth thing without having to say, well, I guess I'm done in Jersey then. And so that opportunity to build that magnetism, that gravity, and create sort of that flywheel of innovation, I think is huge.
If I could just jump in and echoing, and
You gonna disagree with me?
not at all. I'm going to total yes and improv moment here. I think another reason is very specific. And you're too much of a gentleman to brag about CoreWeave. One of the reasons I actually think Jersey is really well positioned is because of CoreWeave, and particularly the success you guys have had and the public market success you've had. You think back to the inflection point around I used to work for Mayor Bloomberg when he was mayor of New York City, and the inflection point in New York City tech that happened when Google bought DoubleClick. Right, Google had like, I don't know, a couple dozen people hanging out in New York doing sales before they were an advertising company. And they bought DoubleClick, and they figured out that ad tech was going to be a big part of their life. That made a tremendous amount of people very well off in that acquisition, and it made Google plant a flag there, but it also seeded a generation of sort of, DoubleClick alumni association type folks who then helped invest in the New York City startup ecosystem and create lots of successful companies that have scaled and grown. CoreWeave, I didn't check the stock price today, but you guys are doing quite well, and rapidly so. And so that's going to create a lot of opportunities in Jersey for folks who have the resources to invest and start up their own companies and build sort of what Governor Murphy's taken to calling sort of a spider web out of you guys, from you guys, while you continue to do well and great, and just like Microsoft has done and Amazon has done in the Pacific Northwest. That ecosystem, like success breeds success, as a cliche, happens to be a true one. The CoreWeave example and the CoreWeave sort of lighthouse moment, I think, is an incredibly important opportunity for Jersey. Biggest tech IPO, U.S. tech IPO since 2021. Is that right?
Yeah.
That ain't beanbag. I mean, that is not like we're really happy that like our kid won the spelling bee. That's a big deal, as Joe Biden used to say. That's right.
Amazing. So now this is a question for all of you. So, you're all collaborating together between CoreWeave, NJEDA, and the AI Hub to really have a place-making strategy. In the world of remote work, what are the advantages to having a more place-made strategy, which I'm excited about because actually my alma mater is in Princeton, just not at Princeton University. I went to a tiny musical conservatory next door. But so excited to see that all of this is happening there. But what are the advantages or maybe disadvantages as well to requiring everything to be in one place?
So I think that it's extremely important to think about the role of social cohesion and how proximity is actually the #1 factor in social cohesion, which is important for the flywheel, right? And it's important on the innovation side and the workforce side. So I think, in terms of like some of the studies offhand that I can think about, on the innovation side, we know that, for example, researchers that work on in the same building are 33 times more likely, 33% more likely, that makes more sense, to collaborate with each other than if they were in a different building. If they're on the same floor, it's about 60%, right? So we know that co-location for innovation is critical and that interdisciplinary work comes from co-location, right? And I think that you can expand that metaphor to, true for a state, and especially a state as small as New Jersey, you have a real opportunity here to have that take off. On the workforce side, I think it might be even more critical. Most jobs are never posted, and of the jobs that are posted, it goes to your first or second degree network, right? That's about 85% of jobs go to your first or second degree network, and that is particularly true for the types of jobs that you'll see on LinkedIn and types of jobs related to AI, and it's also particularly true that people from lower socioeconomic classes particularly rely on friends and family, so that first degree network. So, in theory, of course, you could collaborate remotely, and, I think remote work has done a lot of great things for, women in particular. That being said, we know that proximity and how important being in the same location is critical for both innovation and workforce to take off and to be really concentrated and to set off that flywheel.
Yeah, and I think Jersey is pretty well positioned sort of in sort of the best of both worlds scenario of in a hybrid or remote work world where you have access to, of course, New York City and Philadelphia, but places like Newark and New Brunswick and Jersey City and Camden that are great population centers and density. We have great nodes of higher education. We've talked a lot about Princeton, but of course Rutgers, Stevens, Rowan. I should have started naming names, damn it. I've left people out already. But we have those places where that are hubs of innovation and academic excellence unto themselves. But you can also have a backyard and a lawn and a farm nearby, and you don't have to be in a 40-story condo that costs more than the GDP of small countries to live there. And so I think that I'd argue that that's a locational advantage for the non-superstar city hosts that actually has in a world of ongoing remote work. I think we're going to settle out in like a 3-2-2-3 world broadly, because I think there is that that cohesion factor is very real. I think everybody gets it, unless you're completely farming out your work to people you don't care about and never want to see ever again. You need to see people. So I think Jersey has a case to be made for that sort of best of both worlds in between kind of world of neither overly dense, but not overly citified and not unduly remote either.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly remote work and sort of remote collaboration is a crucial part of the workforce today, right? I don't even imagine how we could get our jobs done without sort of remote work and enablement. But on the flip side, I would also sort of say, with my experiences with CoreWeave even so far, innovation doesn't happen on a schedule, and I'm sure many of you sort of have lived this yourselves. Like sort of schedule daily meetings, weekly meetings, etc. They're the right place to get sort of the execution done. But the innovation is going to happen in between the meetings. It's going to happen in the halls. It's going to happen in that sort of random bump into someone or going out to dinner or something of that nature. And so I still strongly believe proximity matters for that type of opportunity, for that type of unique collaboration, which is, again, sort of like you get your best ideas when you're not thinking about it. And that's what happens when you're walking between meetings versus sitting in the meeting. And so I'm a strong believer in the value of proximity. And to Tim's point, I think New Jersey is so well situated to become that hub, that sort of magnet, and then to feed upon itself in a good way.
All right, final question. For the audience of all of these innovators here, those that have interest in the AI, are going to be building New Jersey as an AI leader, what would be your one piece of, I guess, parting words for them to be involved and to take action? Liat.
Go to our website and go to contact us and fill in your information, tell us more about you and what's of interest, and that way we also, when programming is starting to take off, we make sure that you all are aware of it. So I'd say, do that now on your phones if you can. Great.
Be evangelists for New Jersey's role in this emerging industry. A little home team support, whether it's just on your social media feeds or whether that's when you're out at conferences, and not falling into the trap of letting people think that Jersey is some stereotype that it is not. If it ever was, it no longer is. Tell the great people should be talking up the fact that CoreWeave and Microsoft and Princeton are coming together to form this behemoth. People should be talking up the fact that, I'll keep going on CoreWeave, biggest U.S. tech IPO since 2021. People should be talking up success stories. That's just the one that I'll say because Corey's sitting right next to me. But there's a lot of success stories. When we've got them, we've got to tell that story positively because that momentum breeds on itself.
Yeah, and similar to Liat's answer, go to our website if you want to buy GPUs. We're happy to support you. No, I had to. Is
there a discount for anyone in the audience? Is there a discount code?
There's a discount for everyone but you. Okay. Yeah, it's because I heard you're on your way out, so it's too late. I think they've answered it pretty well. But I do think sort of talk up Jersey and I think take advantage of the resources we've got here, right? Take advantage, and particularly, again, I'm going to emphasize again, like the people resources, right? Reach out to the colleague or reach out to the Princeton professor, reach out to the person you used to work with who now works at CoreWeave or somewhere else, some other tech company in the state. Take advantage of that because, again, proximity matters and the people are here. And so get some coffee, have some innovation.
Amazing. Proximity matters, so thank you for being proximally here, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much to our panel here. Appreciate it. And you can give those back to her.